Greetings, 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 greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 585. Definitely proud and thankful that we're able to do this episode. It's been a while, just doing all of these episodes over the years and continuously doing these episodes. We're at 585. Risk of not being in trust, e-ship. And so, appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. Feel free to type into the chat where you're listening live or listening to replay from. Definitely thankful for everybody that tunes in live or listening to replay. We always want to know where you're listening live or listening to replay from. We got the workshop coming up in Atlanta. We got a bunch of trustees that are coming in Atlanta. And man, we have sold all of these tickets. So the 305 price may even go even higher because we're going to do our best to make accommodations for people that are wanting to come in the room last minute. And that's just how it is, ladies and gentlemen. We've had some tickets that we know that are maybe going to be free, but we're down to three, and we know that that's going to move around very very shortly. So appreciate New Orleans for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate New Orleans. Got a bunch of trustees that we dealt with in New Orleans for sure for years. Um, Big, huge trustees actually in New Orleans. Very successful entrepreneurs. So definitely thankful. We got trustees flying in from Chicago. We got trustees flying in from New York, from Cali, from Jersey, from New York. People obviously moving around in GA. Definitely appreciate you all. People coming up from Florida. Appreciate everybody that's traveling to actually come to the workshop. Be safe on your travels. Definitely appreciate everybody that's traveling from across the country. People that's bringing their families. We got set on the line today actually with a family that's multi generational. Dealing with their grandparents to the actual son and daughter and then as well to the grandchildren. So definitely thankful that we have multi-generational trustees that are going to be attending the workshop. And it's so important to attend those workshops, ladies and gentlemen. That's multi-generational. That's a big deal when you got multi-generation sitting in the room, being able to take advantage of the information and take advantage of the network more than anything else, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely appreciate that. We got a star-studded lineup, and it's not focused on stars. It's focused on effective people in trusteeship. We're focused on getting the effective people that are going to be able to help you out, such as the enrolled agent, such as the private banking specialist. Definitely going to be making sure that we got enough talent in the room to provide the support that you need once you're in trusteeship. Everybody says, "Oh, I'm in trusteeship," but then they don't have the support. They want to know, how do I get a loan? How do I get the trust funded? How do I get this funded? How do I get the company funded? So we're focused on doing that, ladies and gentlemen, and we appreciate everybody that makes it a point to be involved and be engaged. Because this is for you all, ladies and gentlemen. Trust Christian and the Vault. We've been in trusteeship for since the Vault's been around and before that. We didn't just come on the internet talking about it before we did it. So many people try to come through to the Vault and say, "Oh, I want to be like you, Trust Christian and Vault. I want to be in trusteeship." Then they want to go out and act like they're going to start a podcast instead of joining forces because people in trust deal with people in trust. But the funny part about it is the ones that said that, we don't see them in the rooms. The rooms where we in there with the billionaires. You want to know why? Because they're not trying to be a real trustee. So the real trustees, we've actually had, we're commending trustees that have actually come to multiple workshops. We've had, at this workshop, we're going to have some trustees that have come to the Atlanta workshop. They've come to the Orlando workshop. And they back at the Atlanta workshop because they understand the benefit of continuous education and being around trustees. Because we're doing our best to provide the highest value to trustees in education. That's why we got Keenan in the room right now, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody that understands the culture. Somebody that's went and broke barriers down for you all. So when you say, "Oh man, I need to know how the Walton Trust operate," he can talk to you about that. "Oh man, I need to know how the Rockefeller Trust Foundation operate," he can talk to you about that. When you say, "Oh man, I need to get my foundation funded," he can talk about that. So let's talk about it. The risk of not being in trusteeship, the risk of not being in trust. We sat on the line today with some a family, ladies and gentlemen, and we get off the line, we get on the phone with a mentor, and the mentor's like, well, did you point out to them the downside of not thinking about multi generations instead of thinking about right now? That's the risk, is you're not thinking about 2 and 3 generations, 4 and 5 generations. Some of y'all listening, y'all got family members that been in the country for 3 to 5 generations, and they haven't had the opportunity to pass along wealth down properly. And it's not going to come through a 401k. It's not going to come through a 401k. It's not going to come from that, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just going to come from, oh, well, we got insurance, Trust Christian, in the vault. Well, if you got insurance, how you giving that money to your kids? We did an episode the other day about probate. Are you passing it along through a will? Are you passing it along in the proper entity? That's what we're talking about at the workshop. Do you have a generational family banking system? See, this stuff over the internet nowadays, it's becoming more and more jokey. It's not that it's good that it's becoming mass appeal. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the private family banking system has been around for over 300 to 500 years. You would think it would have went mainstream by now. Why didn't it go mainstream? Because it's an ugly investment. It's not pretty. It's not sexy. It's something that families participate in because they understand the fundamentals and the foundation of wealth is built on a private family banking system, and they're willing to invest in that as opposed to going out and putting their money in a public bank. They're willing to do that instead of putting their money in these 401ks. They're willing to do that instead of putting their money in a regular bank. How are you practicing private family banking? That's what we're going to talk about. See, they throw this word around, generational wealth, nowadays, like it's like, oh, everybody's going to achieve it. Everybody's not going to achieve generational wealth because they're not willing to get in trust. Then they want to sit here and come on the line and say, oh, Trust Christian Vault, I'm in a private trust, but they keep calling it their trust. I'm in a private trust, but then they using SPC processes. They utilizing the government, talking about the government owed them. They utilizing government entities. That's not private. And why are you using the government name? If it's the government name, it's never going to be private. So we got to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Why do you think wealthy people got foundations? They not in no regular charity. Oh man, I got me a charity, Trust Christian in the Vault. My family and us, we already set up a charity. I set up a charity. Hold on. We said private family foundation. That's what the Buffetts are in. That's what the Gates are in. That's what the Rockefellers are in. That's what the Carnegies are in. And that's why we needed and we wanted to have Keenan in the room so we could provide that level of education to you all. So we appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listen, replay. Feel free to type into the chat where you listen and live, listen, and replay from. The risk of not being in trust is that you think you buying a house. People think they buying a house. Then they don't even pay it off. When you buy something, when you own something, you have the liability. That's why you're paying the bill. When you control it, it's an expense to the family estate. It's always going to be an expense to the family estate. You hear that? It's always going to be an expense to the family estate. We're going to say it one more time. It's always going to be an expense to the family estate. But most people are slaving away because they want to buy a house. It's not an expense to the family estate. People want to talk about wealth. The risk of not being in trusteeship is that you can't build wealth because you got too many liabilities sucking on you. Wealth management comes from not losing money. This is interesting because this is a counterintuitive thought process. How do you lose money when you're utilizing a private family banking system? See, that's the things they can't tell you. That's the things you can't learn in the public. Why? Because in the public, it's all about bankruptcy. In the public, it's all about debt. In the private, it's about credit. People come to us all the time. Oh, I want to issue some letter of credit, trust Christian Paul. But do you understand securities then? Wealth management is that. Issuing private credit securities. Oh, but I using the government name to issue my securities. Trust Christian Vault. You don't think we hear it? We hear it all the time. They issuing security. They trying to issue because they ain't issuing them. We promise y'all that. Oh man, I'm gonna issue a security instrument so I don't have to pay off my house because the government, because the bank already sold it as a security on the secondary market, right? And you paying the what? Debt. You are paying the what? Debt. But if we put it in the position of the family estate, then it's an expense to the family estate for generations to come. That's wealth management. One of the guys that's running one of the largest asset management firms, the rule at the company is don't lose money. Now, how does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? If you're a wealth management company and you telling your employees, you telling people that work here, we don't lose money. Don't lose money. I thought we were supposed to spend it. I thought it take money to make money. When you set up properly, we don't lose money. It's going through the private family banking system. Then we get to succession planning, and that's why we did that estate. That's why we did that episode the other day about probate, because it's easy to get caught up in the hype of, oh, in the public, this is what everybody's doing. Well, if everybody's doing it, do they have generational wealth set up? Do they have a generational wealth system set up? Let's repeat that again. Do they have a generational wealth system set up? That's the risk of not being in trusteeship. We were talking on the line the other day. Oh, trust Christian in the vault. I need to come up. You should do a trust diary for us so we can have a trust diary. You could have did that on your own. But then there's so many that they really not looking to build generational wealth. It's so many that really not focused on wealth management. It's so many not focused on succession planning. That's why they didn't start the trust diary. Then when we shared that with one trustee, he immediately came up with 6 pages worth of notes for his family estate. So you can share with them the times that we're going through. So you can share with them the accurate information instead of believing the fake news that's going to be for your grandchildren and your great grandchildren to hear. And so on. Give them the notes so they can be successful. And so on. That's how it's done. So we appreciate everybody that's going to attend the workshop. 9 to 5. A good dose of education. A good dose of networking. Being able to be in the room with people in trust. Deal with people in trust. When you got people that can help you out in trusteeship. The enrolled agent. The private family banking specialist. And then we got Keenan. Man, just meeting Keenan, man, and sitting with him, he's a wealth of knowledge. How do you replace having someone that can sit on your board of your company? You have somebody that can give you mentorship on how to take a company public. Someone that can give you capital privately. How do you take that for granted? How do you not get involved? So we're coming down to the last few tickets, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to update the flyer. Y'all know what time it is. Then when we get to 0, what are you going to say? Oh, I'm willing to spend $500 to get in the room. Well, remember, are you spending or investing? You're investing in your private education. You're investing in a private network. We're in town with an event the same weekend in Atlanta. The risk of not being in trusteeship, these guys are gaffing people for thousands of dollars. We got on the line today with some new trustees. They said, Trust Christian Revolt, we need to know what's the upfront cost for it. It's not gonna cost you the ticket that they got at their event for thousands of dollars, $10,000, just to sit in the room to hear somebody talk. Nah, that ain't how asset protection and estate planning workshop works. That's not how the Vault Conference works 2024. The way it works is you get in the room, you learn about the team that you need in place, and once you're in trusteeship, you got a team. It's not just you. We get trustees that come to us, they're single. We get trustees that come to us and they're in a position where it's just a husband and wife. We get it to where it's just a wife by herself. Don't think that we don't. We get them to where husbands come in by themselves because you got to have a team. First time entrepreneurs, you got to have a team. Do you want a job or do you want a actual business trust? Oh, I want to be in business trust. Well, if you're going to be in business trust, business means you have a team. Otherwise, you have a job. The risk of not being in trusteeship is that you never develop a team to help manage your family's estate. I want to make sure Trust Christian Revolt, I can manage my family's estate properly. I don't know if my family's going to do it. You know what I mean? Trustees come on the line and say, oh man, my family, they're not really on the same page with me. They don't want to meet with me. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a family that we know come into the workshop, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. They have over 50 acres of land. Is it in the correct position? One. And two, why is it so challenging to get them to sit down in the same room at the same time to protect the family estate? Because of education. We're not talking smack. We sit in rooms with families that they got way more land under assets under management. And they make it a point to lower their egos. They make it a point to get in the same room at the same time because it's not about them. It's about being able to say, you know what? We, as the first core group, were able to sit down together and uphold the standard that we will meet once a year. We will meet twice a year or however many times to make sure that we never lose this. Because when you're in trusteeship, we don't lose money. It goes through a private family bank. It goes through a private family land bank. What's the risk of not being in trusteeship? Oh man, I don't really know how trusteeship work. Exactly. If you don't know how it works, you can learn. You can learn by investing in your education. By the family taking the time to say, we're going to sit down together and learn together. That's the purpose of generational wealth and wealth management. Is because families are willing to work together to do that out of a foundation. We appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate all the families for tuning in live, listening to replay. We look forward to connecting with the families. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. What if you was one of those people that were in a position where you could have, or you had, multiple generations in trusteeship, multiple generations inside of trust? What if you could do that? Would you take the time away from the things that seem like they're urgent, but they're really just important? They're not urgent. Urgent is when you have a house and you have children and you're about to leave them with a burden in case something happens to you. So they don't have a private family banking system in place. The private family banking system ensures that the greatest assets are protected, which is the income producers. The risk of not being in trustee training is that people don't have a structure. Oh man, Trust Christian Vault. I know I'm supposed to be doing the minutes, but I'm not doing them. That's why you need trustee training. That's why you should be at the workshop. So you can see it's not as hard as you think it is. So you can see, you know what? I got to be in a system that involves me doing this on a weekly and regular basis. Why you think it's so hard? Because you don't have the support system. The public is not about building wealth. That's why they got the tax system in place. Why do they have a wealth tax in place if they want you to be wealthy in the country? Why do they have an estate tax in place if they want you to have an estate in place? They don't. It's to tax people out of their ignorance. Because you don't know that it's about family. You didn't know that the country was started on a private family banking system. But now that you know that, you can do better. Ain't that what they say? Know better to do better. This is true succession planning for your business, for your house. They say, oh, your greatest asset in your life most likely is going to be your house, buying a house. Really? So are you in trusteeship? Is that property in trust? Is it? Did you know you could do that from the beginning? Did you know you could do that from the beginning? I didn't know I could do that, Trust Christian Vault. My lawyer didn't tell me. My accountant didn't tell me. My wealth manager, my estate planner didn't tell me. Everybody that you see on the lineup is focused on that. That's what we're doing. Appreciate Abundant Returns for being around for so long. Larissa being able to help you all. This lady's a tax strategist. This lady is an expert, ladies and gentlemen. She can defend the trust. She can defend your family estate in court against the IRS, ladies and gentlemen. She can help you. Oh man, I got to deal with some back situations. I got to deal with some situations. She's here to help you out. She can defend you in court. Or she could defend what they say, the straw man in court. She could defend that in court without you having to go to court. So you're not standing in there looking like a minor, looking like an indigent, looking a little crazy. Oh man, Trust Christian Vault. I didn't know I didn't have to go to court. I didn't know that she could stand in place of us. Exactly. She could stand in place because she's taken a qualified test that says, I'm going to help these people out. It's Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, it's Christian at trustchristian.com for trustee training. This workshop is pretty much sold out, ladies and gentlemen. We know that the tickets have been running low. People have seen that. The ticket date is already behind. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. It's definitely going to be a tight room, what they call it a barn burner, because the focus is on asset protection and estate planning. What are you working for? Are you working just to work? Or are you working for your last name? Are you working just to work? Or are you working for your kids, your children, putting them in the correct position of trusteeship? Not putting them in a position of beneficial owner, but putting them in a position of trusteeship. What is it going to take for somebody and people to say, you know what? I got to get in trusteeship. Because the risk of not being in it is greater than being in it. That's what it comes down to. Are you in a position of trusteeship? Or are you in a position of liability? Oh man, Trust Christian Vault, I own the company. They still proud to talk about that they own the company. They come to the vault. Even some trustees, they sit on the line. We like, come on, what are you doing here? Let's talk. So let's talk. Okay, you own the company. You're liable. It's that easy to say, you know what? Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. We'll repeat it again. All it is Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. But when people are surrounded by people that are in the public telling them that they should own the house, own the car, own the business, now we know why they're scared and they're liable. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate everybody that makes it a point to come to the workshops each and every year. Each and every year. Because it's time to make sure. Ladies and gentlemen, you got one of the best. Donald Trump gets elected, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think that's going to mean for trustees? You think that's going to be bad? This is the man that said, I don't have an income to show. They got that. They tried to bring it up last election. Well, they ain't going to bring it up again this election. That they do. What do you think he's going to say? Well, I talked to my lawyers and they said I don't have to. Why? Because he doesn't have an income. Now, how does that make sense? Somebody that's $1 billion asset manager doesn't have an income to show for it. That's called trusteeship. And that's your risk of not being in trusteeship, is that you don't know how to pull that move off. Y'all want to hear what the mentors say? Oh, you got to have $1 million to be in trusteeship. Is that where y'all want to go with it? Is that where people want to go with it? Oh man, I don't know if it's worth it, because they didn't count the risk. They're trying to figure out the pluses. But we got to talk about the minuses. The minuses is that you can get sued at any moment. That a creditor lien could be put on the assets. A creditor's lien can be put on the assets. Your assets are exposed in the public. Right? We're talking about private family banking. Those are private contracts. Those aren't public contracts. Isn't it a private family foundation? Not a public foundation, a private family foundation. That's what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate everybody that ends up listening to it in the replay. Definitely hit the like and the subscribe, so when we do these pop-up episodes, you can actually, get the episode and listen to it live, so we can chat with y'all live. We definitely appreciate New Orleans once again for tuning in live, listening, replay. Appreciate everybody that has tuned in live, listening, replay, and we're going to continue to drop episodes as we get close to this event, because there is a risk of not being in trusteeship, ladies and gentlemen. And for even for the married couples, like, gentlemen, how are y'all helping your families out? And we could talk directly to the gentlemen, we could talk directly to the married couples. Is how are you all protected in trusteeship? How are your assets protected in trusteeship? How is your family protected if they don't have a private family banking system in place? That's the least people could do, is invest in a private family banking education. But we're going to find out. And we have found out. We sold the room out. And we're going to continue to do that. The people are already asking about the next workshop. Nah, let's focus on this one right now. Let's focus on August 24th, 2024. 8/24, 2024. It's going to be an incredible day. It's the same weekend as another event that deals with, people focused on saying they want to put some money and build some money. The only difference is they're charging you to listen to someone that they're not helping you be in the position of a Donald Trump, where he says, oh, all I made was $1. Oh, my lawyer said I don't have to show anything. My accountant said I don't have to show anything. It's just, come over here and let's talk to you about how to make money. Well, at the vault, we've never talked about how to make money. We talked about how to keep it. So it's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. We appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate that. Feel free to reach out, Christian@trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian@trustchristian.com. There is a risk of not being in trusteeship, a major risk. And one of them is for sure being able to be sued out of assets. Don't you have equity in your house? Let's talk. Don't you have equity in your house? If you have equity in your house, does that mean you have money in your house? So can you be sued for that money in your house? Oh, can you be sued for the equity, which is the money in your house? Oh, do you even know? Did you check with the lawyer? Did you check with the closing agent? Did you check with your accountant? Can you be sued out of the equity in your house? George Christian Abort, I'm not in the most asset protected position. Exactly. So let's talk about it. Let's get in that position. Why? Because people in trust deal with people in trust. It's that simple. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate that. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace and joy.